All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Lasting Learning Podcast. Whether you're watching this in video, listening to the audio, or just checking out little clips to figure out what's going on, I'm glad that you're here. And today, you are in for an absolute treat because you're going to get introduced to somebody that has quickly become one of my heroes. She is everywhere doing all the work, doing all the things for the right reasons. She is slowing down to focus on her priorities. She is an incredible mother, an incredible wife, an incredible author, and now she is an incredible educational evangelist. I am super excited to introduce you to my friend Erin today as she continues to unpack her journey, all that she's doing, all that she's going to do, and ultimately why and how she's done it all. So, Erin, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Dave. Wow, that was like the most amazing introduction ever.
Well, you sent it to me. No, I'm just kidding. You did not.
Yeah,
you did not.
Right. Good job reading that script. From listening to your other podcasts, I do think that's one of the amazing things about you is you have a way of introducing people and really making them feel great. So thank you. That filled my love tank a little bit.
Well, honestly, I didn't have to lie about any of that. If there's anything in there that you don't think is accurate, feel free to tell the truth right now, because it's truly, it's how I feel about you. So if I'm missing the mark somewhere, come clean.
No, that's awesome. Thank you. It makes me feel great. And obviously, I think sometimes it's hard for everybody to hear wonderful things about themselves because we're all a work in progress, but no, you've got a knack for that. So thank you.
Well, I will be transparent. I'm going to let people know how you and I got connected and how this little partnership relationship has kind of formed and blossomed over recent months. Because I think it might give other people some hope and inspiration as well as they go on their journey. And then I'm going to give you the opportunity to fill in the gaps with any part of your story or journey that I haven't already captured. But you and I have a common friend. We both have a common interest. We've got a friend named Jessica. Jessica is an absolutely phenomenal human being. I've had her on my podcast. She and I have been connected now for a few years. I knew her because she had a post that went viral. She was one of the people that went out there and talked about leaving the classroom, leaving education. And this was back before it became in vogue to leave education. This was a few years ago, and it went completely viral, her post as to why she was leaving. She's out there right now finding her way, absolutely being an incredible mom, incredible small business owner, just an incredible human being. You have a relationship with her as well through some of your small business ventures and the things that you're working on. You mentioned to her that you were working on this book project and that you had an idea, and Jessica put the two of us in contact, and the rest is history. And I've just been completely blown away by all that you're doing, your story and your vision and your mission, and truly the outcomes of all of your hard work. So I just want to put that out there for people to never shortchange your connections, your relationships, your networks, because it makes a difference, not just on a professional sense, but also on a personal sense. That 6 degrees of separation, it matters because we are all connected, and those connections are what move us forward. So just want to put that out there. And since you and I have been connected, I've just been seeing you do some incredible things. So Erin, just introduce yourself to people. Tell people who you are, what you're doing right now, and where this conversation might go.
Okay, so yes, we met through Jessica, which I met her because of her post that went viral years ago. And I just followed her on Facebook because her story was so touching, about why she was leaving the classroom and what she was doing. And a friend of mine that I taught with at the time actually was leaving the classroom as well. And she told all of us, you guys have to check out this girl's post. So long story short, 7 years down the road, I guess, I was still following her. She's a wellness coach, and she helped me get started on wellness and just taking care of myself. And we all know the overwhelmed teacher, busy mom. I've got 3 crazy wild kids that are totally different, each of the 3 of them. So they keep me on my toes figuring things out. So between work, home, kids, I really wasn't taking care of myself. And so Jessica, whether she knew it or not, because we hadn't officially met, helped me a lot with that process. So I joined her, and like you said, we got to talking about education and the book I was writing, and she hooked me up with you guys. So part of me now used to be very busy classroom teacher, kids in sports, wife. You know, I was in a book club and a Bible study, and I'm on the go nonstop. I love to be busy. And my husband's job relocated us from Ohio to Michigan. And once we got there, the school year had already started. It was a very fast move. I did not have time to look for a job, and the year had already started. So I figured, get the kids acclimated, learn the area, and then the next year, you know, I'll go back to the classroom. I thought I would have the year of my life, right? Being at home, doing all the mom things that I always wished I had time to do. And, you know, I struggled a little bit. Like, I struggled with the pace. I loved that I was getting everything done because, you know, everything done at home, I had one purpose and it was getting done. But my wheels, like cognitively, I was not being fulfilled. And I was comparing where we came from, the school district we came from, which claimed to be very progressive. I would say they built all new buildings. We were asked to get rid of some of our classroom libraries because everything's digital and all this progressive stuff. And I was teaching kindergarten. And then you come to Michigan and, you know, they still taught handwriting, which we quit teaching handwriting because it's a digital world. And I stepped into my third grade. My son was in third grade at the time. I stepped into their meet the teacher night and everything was in cursive. And I was like, oh, like my son is in the generation that didn't get handwriting. Like, we have to go buy a cursive book and get started, you know? But so I was constantly comparing, and I was seeing amazing things in this new district, but I was also seeing the things that weren't in this new district that were amazing about where we came from. So I just started thinking, like, wouldn't it be wonderful just to have like what's best of all of it in one spot? And I'm all about just like what's developmentally appropriate for kids, and why are we in this rush to have kindergartners writing paragraphs when they start the year not even knowing what hand they write with sometimes? Like, can't we just slow down and let them be kids? Which is funny because I want to slow down and let them be kids, but at the same time, I was struggling in my own life with slowing down. And I found myself I was up at night, like making webs and for nothing. And then I would think to myself, Erin, why are you doing this? Like, you're not in the classroom like right now. Why are you brainstorming this and that? And I was watching YouTube videos of these amazing teachers, watching them do these awesome lessons, and I wasn't even in the classroom. I'm like, I've got to do something. So I started trying to figure out where I was going to find my place, still doing education, but being able to be home and support my kids with this new place and new environment. And I wrote a couple proposals to teach some grad courses on the graduate level for teachers, like when they want to get their credit hours to recertify, and those were approved. So I actually have 4 courses that I teach. It's all online and they're self-paced courses. And then I started writing. I took all those webs that I was up at night creating, and I just started writing. I had no clue what I was doing. No clue. I've never written. I didn't even like writing as a child or a young adult. Like, I just started writing because I needed to get it out. And I thought, gosh, I could share this with teachers. Like, I love to share what I'm passionate about. And I could talk for hours about what I'm passionate about. So why not? Like, why not put it down in writing? And so I did. And so now I'm to the point where now I have a book and it's been published, and I'm like, still trying to kind of figure out where I want to, like what exactly I want to do with it. But for right now, I'm still teaching those 4 courses. And then the university just approved my book to be a course about the fundamentals of early childhood education. So that's kind of exciting. It's not in place yet. It's just been approved, and now we're working on, all the steps.
I love the parallels of your journey with the outcome, which is this book. The title of the book, Slow Down, Children Are Learning, could be applied to all of us. Slow down, we're all learning. Because what you just outlined is you were displaced from Ohio to Michigan, and thank God you finally got to the Holy Land. I'm so grateful for you. As a guy who spent 20 plus years of his career in the great state of Michigan, I'm so glad that you can now finally see what heaven looks like. So I'm so grateful for that.
My heartstrings right now are shouting, OH!
Oh no, don't say it too loud. Your neighbors will come running over with pitchforks.
I drink a Cleveland mug every day because I miss Ohio so much.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, fair enough.
I will say, Michigan is much more beautiful. It's one of the best kept secrets. People do not know about the crystal clear blue waters and the dunes and all year-round vacationing right here. Nobody needs to go anywhere.
It's the truth. It's one of those states that people don't pass through to go anywhere. You have to make it a destination. So it does remain one of those little hidden secrets. And I do miss it. I long for those days, those 3 months out of the year where it is an incredible place to visit: June, July, August.
Yeah.
So you enjoy that when the time comes. But with you had to have a door closed in order for this opportunity to open up, because you were going, as you said, you're a mom, a wife, a teacher, doing a lot of things. And as a man who has experienced this in a very real way in a lot of circumstances in my life, the constant hamster wheel sometimes doesn't allow your brain to sit down, reflect, and to think. You were put in a position where a door closed and another one seemingly didn't open, but it required you to sit back, be still, and allowed you to do this analysis that you wouldn't have been able to do had you not been able to see something different. Had you not been able to have your kids experience something different, had you not been able to just sit still at 1 a.m. and scroll YouTube, your mind was able to take on new thoughts and new ways of thinking and start to generate something that wouldn't have happened had a door not closed. But right now you're at this amazing crossroads. Maybe it's not even a crossroad. Maybe you're just on the highway right now where things are moving full steam ahead. You're on podcast, you're writing things, you are teaching classes, you're still doing the hockey mom thing, you're still this amazing wife, you're still moving constantly. So how do you find time for yourself to slow down now as things are starting to ramp back up again, so that you can continue to learn and continue to iterate and continue to create?
Well, I think the nature of a mom, and probably a dad as well, is that we put others ahead of us. And so no matter what is going on or how fast paced our life is, I feel like we still put ourselves last. It's a new journey being in my house all day. So that part of it feels a little bit slower, maybe not slower, just more flexible, where, when I was in the classroom, like I couldn't even leave to run to the post office. Now I have that flexibility. If a kid is sick, I can be there for them. And it's not my husband and I saying, whose turn is it to take off work, but I still get up in the morning before my kids are awake, and I do a 30-minute workout. When my coffee is brewing, I sit down and I write 5 things I'm grateful for every morning, because when we first moved here, I was struggling with the move, and I'm a people person, and I left a place where I had very, very deep relationships. And coming to a new place, all the relationships are very surface, and so I had to do something for myself to not get in a funk. And then COVID happened. Well, Michigan flooded like 2 months after we moved here. So our house flooded. Then COVID happened. And it's just been an ongoing battle, And so gratitude, taking time in the morning when the house is quiet, the lights aren't even on yet, the coffee is brewing, and I just write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like it's nothing, but it's 5 minutes. Thankful for this, 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 and this. And that has made a huge difference and has allowed me to stop and think. about the little things and how much we really do have to be grateful for. Taking care of myself, working out, eating healthy, have all been great ways to focus on me and have helped me slow down a bit. Once the kids get off the bus, we're like running the race to from one sport to the next. 3 kids, they're all involved. Hockey does rule our life, but it's a lot of fun, and that allows for me time as well, because there's nothing like watching your kids do what they love.
Yeah, and so I love this idea of obstacles turning into opportunities. The Midland floods and COVID and tragedies that truly impacted individuals and changed their lives, changed their trajectories, at times can cause us to also double down and say, well, what is really important for me? What are the small things that are actually the big things in my life? I've said before that oftentimes the soft skills are actually the hard skills, and it's the same thing in our lives. The small things are oftentimes the big things. And I feel like that's also the direction that your book takes, is what are those small, big things that we need to just slow down and focus on with kids, just like in our own lives. We need to take time to be grateful. We need to take time to pour into our kids. We need to take time for ourselves to exercise and eat healthy. And those may seem like small things, but they're big things, especially when you're busy and you're hustling and bustling and you feel like you're just checking things off the list and moving from one activity to the next. Those can be big mountains to move to focus on those priorities. In the classroom, I'm sorry, I was just in the classroom with teachers, they feel that pressure as well. A statistic I'll throw out there: in the state of Michigan, in 6th grade, there are 257 standards that 6th graders are supposed to master: language arts, social studies, math, and science. In 6th grade, 257. And 6th grade is just that median grade level. It's somewhere in that neighborhood from K all the way through 12. So teachers are looking at this saying, I just have to plow through. I just got to go and get it all done, as opposed to saying, what are our priorities and how do we focus on those priorities and the things that really matter most? So I'm curious, 2 things. What are your priorities in your world, in your life? And 2, how do classroom teachers actually do this with all the demands? And they have that servant heart too, where they're there for the kids and they're hustling from activity to activity and class to class and minute to minute. How do we actually activate this?
Okay, so my priorities, I'm going to go deep. My priorities are God, family, and work, or whatever work means. And of course, I fall into that as well. I'm part of all of that. But first and foremost, like, our faith is everything to us. And as I look back at my life, I've not lived an easy life. Like, I have worked so dang hard for everything, but even more importantly, as I look back on each obstacle, even like childhood obstacles to like college age, like trying to get your first job, everything, like, our lives are orchestrated so beautifully. And we just have to trust that if you have faith, then that, like, God works for the good. And so as long as we trust in that and believe in it, we can feel good that he has our best interest in mind. So with our move and venturing into the classroom as well, I'll get there, but a couple things happened that changed me drastically in how I parent, and then also made me reflect on how I would teach, or how I wish everyone taught. And that is my oldest, my son, Cooper, struggles a little bit with anxiety. And as I look at him and how he will beat himself up if he misses one math problem. Like, if he gets a -1, he's calling himself stupid. Why am I not smart? I mean, it is like gut wrenching. He twirls his hair to the point where, like, he has like pulled hair out. So I was doing all this research as a mom on parenting. And as I reflected on how I parent and how I taught, I think we are so stressed and so worried about being perfect. We're even, like, teachers are so worried about getting every standard taught and every standard, like, mastered. Like, yes, the goal should be mastery, but I'm thinking, like, as a kindergartner, it is not okay for me to pressure a kindergartner to be able to write a paragraph when they're still figuring out. They don't even have the muscles in their hands to like write a full sentence. And right about when we moved to Michigan, I got a call from a friend that worked at my old school, sharing that a former student of mine who was in my class years ago as a third grader, was 19 years old and had considered committing suicide. And it hit me like so hard thinking about who this kid was as a third grader. Smart, actually gifted, had friends, great sense of humor, wonderful family, not a kid you would ever think would struggle with mental health. And the characteristics he possessed as a third grader, my son also possesses those same characteristics as a third grader. And I started thinking, if this could happen to this gentleman, gosh, I don't want that to be my son down the road. I need to lay off of him. Like, I need to quit being so hard on him. I need to stop worrying about the end result and praise him along the way. And so then I started doing all this research on growth mindset and how our words as adults can change the way a child thinks and feels about their learning. And rather than saying, oh, you're so smart, I'm so proud of you, you're so smart. Well, anytime they get a -1, then they think, oh, I've disappointed my mom because I'm not smart, or I've disappointed, so then you change your verbiage to, you worked so hard on this, I'm so proud of you. Let's look at this one problem. What did we do wrong? Maybe we can figure out, is there a different way we could do it? And so I started to try and change my own language, as well as like my own mindset. So it's been this journey, and that's part of my book. One of the chapters is on growth mindset. One is on executive function skills, which a lot of people don't know a ton about. But that's part of like controlling your emotions, making decisions, initiating a task, making a to-do list, knowing how to use the to-do list the right way, and organizing and all of that, like the control center, that frontal lobe. And the book is like, if we could just slow down and focus on those things early on, more so in like the early childhood years, but even like middle school and high school, at the beginning of the year, you have to set a firm foundation in order for your students to be successful. So why are we in such a rush? I think if we slowed down in our classrooms to teach these things, that we'd get the same end result or better in a more organic way. I was part of that No Child Left Behind generation. That's when I was teaching third grade. And it was like, we're all going to master every single standard. And in my mind, I was like cheering them on and supporting them. But seeing these kids now as college age students, I wonder, like, was that just causing stress? And I think the more teachers know about the brain and about development, the more we can slow down and focus on what matters most. And what matters most might not be the standards that are in writing. The standards give us a guideline, and yes, we have to teach them, but couldn't we teach them in a growth mindset way? Couldn't we teach them alongside of executive function skills, strategies to conquer those standards? And it's like anything in life, relationships, how to function throughout your day, organic learning. Like, come on, as an adult, actually, somebody said, it might have been you. It might have been in one of your podcasts. Why are we learning this high-end math stuff when nobody's teaching them how to change their oil or do their taxes or like the things we're really doing in life? And it's the same in elementary school. I just listened to a virtual conference yesterday by Big Life Journal, which is an amazing company. And this principal from New York was saying in kindergarten, they start teaching neuroscience, and they teach that your brain is a muscle, and they teach, when you struggle, it's a good thing. And they say snap or pop, or they have some kind of verbiage that they use with little kids to help them understand, when I struggle, I need to get curious and figure out how to overcome it, and then celebrate the fact that I did that. And they're teaching these kids that in kindergarten. And then she was saying by like third grade, or when new students join their school, she hears current students teaching them this new language, this new way of thinking. So imagine when you're 19 years old and you're in college and you're trying to figure out life, and you have been brought up since you were 5 years old in school, learning how your brain works and learning the proper tools, how much more successful you would be able to navigate your life. Like, I'm learning all this as an adult, like gratitude. I'm learning this as an adult, So that's my point. I'm sorry, I keep talking and talking.
No. This is
slow down and like teach these kids like how to build a relationship with somebody, how to advocate for themselves. Let's build their tiny hand muscles before we make them write paragraphs. Let's do the things that inspire them and spark interest and make learning fun.
Yeah, so I'm going to throw some things out here real quick for people that are listening, thinking, oh, what does Dave think about all of this? So I'll put some stuff out here real quick, because I spend 80% of my day in the standards-based, mastery-based world, and I still say preach everything that you just said. I agree with every single thing that you just said, and there's a lot of reasons why. But the first and most important reason is, I think, where we often get things wrong in the whole standards-based movement is that there has never been the expectation that students master every single standard. The issue has been that nobody has actually said, how do we determine which ones are actually the most essential? And because nobody knows, they just plow through everything and they treat them all with fidelity, a dirty F word in education. Fidelity is simply the coward's way out of saying we have to teach everything the same way to everybody at the same speed, same depth, same width. And instead of saying which ones are really our priorities. The most difficult part about being an adult, the most defining characteristic of maturity, is identifying priorities. When you are able to start identifying priorities, you start to identify that you are mature, that you are a decision maker, that you are focused on things that matter most. One of the things that we have to encourage educators to do, whether you're an administrator or a classroom teacher, is identify priorities. Start to determine which things truly matter most, because some things really are more important than others. What we need to focus on are those skills, as you were just addressing. We spend so much time teaching content. And the reason we teach so much content is because as teachers, in order to get certified in 47 out of the 50 states, in order to get certified, you have to demonstrate content knowledge, not skills. And so we're bringing people into the profession that have a ton of content knowledge, which is amazing, that don't necessarily know how to transfer that content knowledge into skills. So an example, you mentioned neuroscience. You talk about the frontal lobe, the prefrontal cortex. I mentioned this to a group of educators in Chicago yesterday who had never heard this science before. So I'm just going to share it with people really quickly. Most people think that the human brain is pink or gray. The reality is, when we're born, our brain is gray. But as we continue to mature and learn and gain critical thinking skills, the brain starts to transform and grow white matter, white mass. The white matter is where the connections are happening, where the neurons are starting to be connected through neural pathways. Connections between content are starting to be formed. Those pathways are white. Our job as educators is to create white brain matter, to make those connections. Do you know the reason the prefrontal cortex doesn't fully develop until 25 years old? It has nothing to do with natural biology. It's because it takes kids getting out of school to start learning those critical connections, to start being able to problem solve and troubleshoot for their own, because when they're in school, they're being told what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and where to do it, and they don't ever have the opportunity to develop those connections. If we would simply get out of the way and allow kids to nurture their critical thinking skills, the prefrontal cortex, the one that is focused on logical thinking, the one that's focused on decision making, would actually develop a whole lot quicker. We actually stunt the growth of the human brain by the way that we do schools today. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. So educators, listen to what this woman is saying. If our job is to prepare kids for life, and if we know that in life you need to have critical thinking skills, you need to have transferent skills that are filled with leverage and endurance, then get out of their way, slow down, focus on skills over content, focus on the things that matter most, and you'll be blown away. My friend Jessica Leahy talks about this in The Gift of Failure. Ted Dintersmith, another friend of mine, talks about this, and he says, the testing environment in America today, it's not going away. We need to embrace that testing is going to happen, but we need to shift and say, let's test the right things. That's the argument we need to be having, is what are the things that matter most? So, Erin, I'm so glad that you're focusing on this early on, saying, let's set that foundation for our early learners. And I'm going to say, educators, focus on this for yourself as well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, early on, these kids, think about how much kids learn when they're little. I mean, they learn far more than any of us could learn as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And so why wouldn't we start then? Like, it could change so much. It could change so much.
Absolutely.
Years ago when I was teaching third grade, I taught third grade for 8 years. And 3 of those years, a coworker and I piloted a project-based learning class. And our district was all about standards-based to like almost not in a great way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that was all the focus was. And they allowed us to pilot this class, and we took all the content standards over the summer, and we created rubrics for every, like, we chunked all the like units or whatever, units of study. So it was not like you're learning, you're reading, you're testing, So we would pre-test everything, and then we would introduce it, and they would do research. It was all like peer tutoring, self-paced, like they chose how the end result of their project, they followed rubrics. And it was an amazing experience. We had 46 kids in our class, which sounds crazy, but we co-taught everything. And we had 2 classrooms that were they were across the hall from each other. So one was like a project room, and one had all the desks, 46 desks just lined up. And it was more like a lecture room, like when that was necessary. But the kids came and went between the 2 rooms, and they worked on projects, and they learned about themselves as a learner. And it was amazing. We did it for 3 years. It was successful. And I'm still heartbroken that it ended, but both of us got pregnant at the same time. And then they told us that we were not allowed to do it anymore. And it just ended. And we fought it. And then they moved me to 2nd grade. And this was like years and years ago. Actually, the kiddo I talked about earlier was in that project-based class, but I'm still like wounded over us we joke and say like they made us get a divorce because we were doing what was best for kids. They were driving their own learning. And when you have 2 adults, majority can work on the project while you're pulling remediation groups. Kids who have mastered things can move on. And it's not just moving on with like the gifted kids, but doing things in a different way. And it gave that ability, and it was just amazing. I haven't talked with Ray Hewart about that, but it sounds like she may have done something similar in like a middle school class, maybe. But to allow students to learn that way also provides those problem-solving skills and like all of those unwritten life skills that we were just talking about too. So pedagogy is another thing that I mentioned in my book, and it's the 3rd part of the book set. It talks about like different styles, different pedagogy, and like what is best for little ones. Some people think little kids can't handle like a free open project, but they actually thrive on it. Think about how many times kids ask questions. What's this? Why does it do that? Where does this go? Why is this here? And they can drive it.
Yep, 1,000%. It's that the self-paced, mastery-based framework you're talking about is the secret sauce. And I would argue that you're definitely preaching to the choir right here. You say kids can't handle it. And I understand what people are saying. They can't. 5-year-olds can't handle school the way that most of us are forcing kids to handle school. However, kids can definitely handle learning in organic, natural ways. Again, I'll throw out some neuroscience statistics for people. The two time periods in a person's life where there is more brain development and more demonstration of mastery and learning happen from 0 to 5, and then from 18 to 23. From 0 to 5, you learn more than you will the rest of your life, the next 95 years combined. This followed behind is the years from 18 to 23. I find it extremely ironic that those two age groups where we have the most learning are immediately preceding schooling and immediately succeeding schooling. Before and after kids are in school, they learn more than the 12 years that they're with us in school. And it's not because of teachers. It's not because it's our fault. It's because oftentimes we think that we have to prescribe and script every little thing that kids do all day long. As a dad, 4 kids of my own, my oldest is 16 right now. He also struggles with anxiety and say a lot of the things that you were describing with your little one. I experienced with my 16-year-old, and I look myself in the mirror constantly because I know the contribution I've had to that. I did everything for him when he was little. Even in his preteen and early teenage years, I would nag him all the time. It's time to leave. We got 5 minutes to leave, 2 minutes to leave, 1 minute to leave. Get down here right now. To the point when we're at a restaurant and I'm saying, look at the menu. Do you know what you're going to get? Do you know? And constantly nagging. And we're at this place now where even now we'll go to a restaurant. He'll say, Dad, what should I order? I don't care. Get what you want. I don't know what I want. Dad, order something for me. Dad, when we go to the drive-thru, can you order for me? Like asking me to do the things because that's what I did for so long. I equipped my son with these anxious thoughts where he only wants to please me as opposed to learn, struggle, and experience life for himself. And I know that we do that same thing to kids in our classrooms all day long. We've created this blurred line in classrooms between cheating and collaboration. We tell kids, don't copy off of your peers, but copy off of me and you'll get an A. Yet at the same time, we tell kids, go collaborate with each other, learn from each other, but don't cheat from each other. And we expect kids to know the difference. And they have no idea what the difference is. And neither do we. We as educators need to double down and say, what's the priority and what's the focus in our life and in our classrooms. So.
And in the classroom, our priorities, honestly, should be building relationships with our students. Like you said, you have to buy into the person before you're going to buy into their ideas. Yeah. Well, it's no different than a teacher and a student. You have to slow down and take time to get to know them, invest in their life so that they feel safe enough to trust the things you're teaching them. And they want to perform for you. They want to work there, apply the most effort possible because they trust you and love you. They have that relationship with you. And then, years ago at our convocation before school started, our superintendent mentioned that they interviewed a couple of the Fortune 500 companies about what they're looking for in their applicants to hire in their hiring process. And these companies never mentioned a test score. They never mentioned a GPA, an SAT, an ACT. They're looking for problem solvers, communicators, and collaborators. And we're not necessarily, teachers are teaching it, but I don't know that the whole realm of education has their focus there.
Yeah. Again, I'm gonna preach a little bit, but I apologize. But I want to make sure that people understand that I am fully supporting every single thing that you are saying right now. This is one of those amen moments right now. We're sitting in, I told you, you're this educational evangelist right now. We're sitting in your church right now, and you're preaching some stuff right now that I am picking up, and I love it. Love it. I used to spend a lot of time in higher ed. I worked in colleges, and I can tell you emphatically, even at the college level, GPA, SAT, ACT scores are a minimal part of the application process, which is why we ask for essays and references and experiences and resumes and a whole lot of other things to help us balance out the equation. However, in today's economy in the United States of America, only 12% of jobs require a college education. So if we're truly preparing kids for life, we need to consider what we're actually preparing kids for. Is it to fit within a niche and to fit within what we had to go through, or truly setting them up for success in all walks of life? To your former superintendent's point, focus on the things that employers and we as people think are the most important. I love all that. Love it, love it, love it. So Erin, I'm gonna mention a couple things about your book real quick. And while I'm doing that, I want you to start thinking, because at the end of every conversation I have with somebody, I always ask them for their mic drop moment. I want you to just vision that you're on the stage, you've got the entire world of education listening to you, and you're about to leave the stage and you're about to say something and just walk off and either leave them thinking, questioning, wondering, whatever. It's no pressure whatsoever. It's just your game-changing moment. So no pressure. I'm going to give you a few seconds to think through that real quick.
Just so many.
And so while you're thinking of that, I just want to remind people that if they want to continue to learn from you, if they want to continue to learn about your ideas and how to implement them and actually put them into practice in classrooms, and not just have this metaphysical thoughts exercise, but actually have some strategies that you can implement in your classrooms. You've written this amazing book. It's targeted for elementary classrooms, but it's truly something that we can all implement, whether we're a parent or your middle school teacher or high school teacher, college professor. You can take these same strategies of slowing down so that children can learn on their priorities. The full name, I'm going to read it because the subtitle is long. I want to make sure that people can have a chance to write this down. It's in the show notes if you're listening to this on the podcast or on YouTube. But Slow Down, Children Are Learning, Effective Strategies for Overall Achievement That Focus Developmental Growth in Elementary Classrooms. So Slow Down, Children Are Learning, Effective Strategies for Overall Achievement That Focus on Developmental Growth in Elementary Classrooms. So go buy it. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on all the places. Go buy it. I know you've been part of this slowing down journey, trying to figure out even how to get that book out there. Lots of people can reach out to you and say, if they have questions about how do you even write a book and how do you self-publish something? How do you put it up on Amazon? How do you get it into bookstores? How do you put it on Ingram and KDP and all these things? You're part of that process as well. And I want to make sure that people can connect with you in that. So your contact information will be in the show notes as well. All of that was just designed to buy you some time, Erin. So I know you got this mic drop moment. You've got a microphone in your hand. Everybody's picturing it right now. You're on stage. You've already mesmerized them. You've already got them committed. They're in. What do you want them to know before you leave?
Well, I want them to know, I want everybody to know that we know that we can't pour from an empty cup. So we have to take care of ourselves, and we have to be able to have our own positive mindset before we can teach our students how to have that positive mindset. And when you go into work each day with a positive attitude, even though I know there is a ton of overwhelming situations and your schedule is crammed and everything, but you have to take care of yourself. Gratitude, prayer, taking care of what you eat, exercise, make time for you. But the big thing with teaching that I want everybody to think really hard about is all of the unwritten standards, like the life standards that Dave and I just talked about. All of those things, the problem solving, the organic love for learning, how curious your kids are. Don't tell your kids there's not time when they have a question, because it could be the best question that your answer inspires them, or that you guys can research together. Slow down and take the time to do those things. Who cares if the standards will come? You will. Like, that's the natural thing teachers do. Teachers teach what they're supposed to teach. But take the time to teach those unwritten standards, the people standards, the human standards.
And if you are a person that's saying, but I can't because they're not written down, when you're reflecting, write them down. And then you'll have them written. Write them down. Remember what your priorities are. Remember what you're really focusing on. Remember that your primary responsibility is to teach kiddos, not just to be successful later on in life, but kiddos who are living their life right now, whether they're 5 or 15, they're living their lives right now. So equip them with the skills to be successful now and allow those skills to transfer to the future. Erin, you are absolutely a phenomenal human being, an amazing educator, and an inspiration. So I'm so grateful we were able to connect today and make this happen. If people want to continue to learn and grow with you, how can they get in touch with you?
So I have a blog. It's called Be Their Difference. and it's just www.bethirdifference.com. And I'm on social. I have only recently really started to be active in social. So I have Facebook, Erin Mengeu. I also have Be Their Difference. So there's 2 different Facebooks. I have Instagram, Be Their Difference, and on Twitter, which I'm just now learning to really like Twitter. There's lots of professionals on Twitter. It's at Be Their Diff, DIFF. So yeah, any of those places, check it out. Connect
Awesome.
with me. I love it.
Absolutely. And people, again, you will continue to be inspired. You'll be encouraged to grow and to slow down so that you can focus on the things that matter most. So go check it out, connect with her, buy that book, read it over the summer, read it over spring break, read it in the evenings, highlight it, question it, and then double down on the things that matter. Erin, you're incredible. The rest of you, go out and enjoy your day, your week, your year, and find some time for you.